مشغل الفيديو يوتيوب تشغيل زر مشغل الفيديو زر إخفاء عناصر التحكم في المشغل.
Each month, join your hosts Rachel Ramos and David Woodbridge as we bring you engaging interviews from guests, interaction from our one-of-a-kind distribution partners, stories that'll take you off the beaten path, current promos, shows where you can find us, and so much more. So stick around. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of See Things Differently, where we are into August and all kinds of amazing things are happening, which we will get to. But before we even jump into that, I want to acknowledge a very loyal listener. David and I always mention that if you guys want to get in touch with us, please do. We love it. And this is no exception. So we heard from a listener, Svetlana, who has listened to all, at this point, 19 episodes of the podcast on her Victor Reader stream. And she is a teacher, or used to be a teacher of journalism at university. And she wanted to thank us for some in-depth interviews we did with Peter Tusick and Ricky Enger. So if you have not heard those episodes, go back, do yourself a favor, listen to those, episodes 17 and 18. And she wanted to give Ricky a shout out and said that she listened to her podcast when it aired. So in those couple episodes, the novel War and Peace was mentioned, and Svetlana has read this twice in Braille. That's dedication. She mentioned to us what a pleasure it is to just sit in your favorite chair and read a great Braille book, which I can't agree more. And David, I think you would agree as well. There's nothing better than reading a good Braille book.
Can't believe that somebody read War and Peace twice. That's pretty amazing.
I think so too.
I feel like I should go out and grab War and Peace now and have a read of it.
Me too. Maybe Svetlana can tell us some of her fast reading tips or something.
That's right. Although I don't think my technique of reading a mystery, detective or scary book would work, because I tend to start the first chapter, then I switch to the back chapter to make sure that the main character survived, and then I go back to the beginning and keep reading.
Ooh, you do a lot of jumping around.
I do.
You must make extensive use of bookmarks.
It's just to alleviate, we've got enough stress in the world, so I don't want to get stressed out by getting anxious reading a book where the character conks out towards the end of something. So, it's always good to double check. Then I can relax, sit back and,
truly enjoy the book.
That's the one.
Well, in addition to enjoying books, Svetlana also wanted to let us know that, David, she has listened to your podcast for a very long time, and she really enjoyed the Evolve demo series. So we thank you for that. And Svetlana, thank you so much for tuning in to Vision Forward's Tech Connect. That is a local technology organization here where I live, and I've been lucky enough to be on their show a couple times, and Svetlana has definitely made her presence known with some lovely comments, and she finalizes her note by saying that she's really looking forward to the QWERTY Evolve. Now, speaking of the QWERTY Evolve, if you folks are interested in that, there is a waiting list now available online, so you can go and sign up, get your interest in, and we will put a link to that in the show notes. But I do want to just mention again, please reach out to us, podcast@humanware.com. We absolutely love hearing from you. Svetlana's note absolutely made my day and David's day, so thank you so very much. Now, on to the exciting things that we have going on at Humanware in August and beyond. Some of this includes Monarch, so stick around for more information about that and a promotion we have going on in partnership with the National Federation of the Blind. August is also a time where we think about heading back to school, and because Humanware is all in support of literacy and education, annually, we send out a call for applications for a bursary, or as we call it in the US, a scholarship. And we have had so many wonderful applicants apply, and there was a committee that selected a few scholarship or bursary winners to win a few goodies, which the guest we have on today can maybe tell us a little bit more about that. But it's my pleasure to have on the show today one of the bursary winners all the way from Brisbane, Australia. His name is Sam White. He is studying at the Queensland University of Technology, getting a Bachelor in Information Technology. So he is into the tech and we love it. Sam, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being on and coming to talk to us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Never been on a podcast before, but I'm keen.
Well, that's all we need to know, Sam. We will make sure you have a great time hanging out with us. Sam, you applied for the bursary and you won it, which is fantastic. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. I was actually very excited.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
So before we jump into kind of the bursary, and tell us a little bit about you. We want to know, do you have low vision? Are you totally blind? How long have you been into technology? Was it something that you were kind of into from a very young age, or did you come to it maybe a little later on? You're studying it in university, so it must be very important to you.
So I do have pretty low vision at the moment. I've just started learning screen readers and kind of dipping my toes into that. Getting familiar with voiceover. It's been fun. But through most of school, I did have more vision. I've always had an impairment, but it's been more recent that I've definitely started to get more into the Braille screen reader side of things. And yeah, I'm really into technology. I think more so the reason I've decided to study it is because I've always loved building things, and I just think computers are a really good platform to build on and to just build some cool stuff. So really enjoying the degree, learning a lot and building some cool things. So yeah.
Doing your information tech degree, do you find there's a lot of stuff that you think, I don't know why I really have to know this stuff? Because I know when I did computer science back at Macquarie Uni, there was a lot of stuff that was sort of, I don't know, more the history of computing, and then there was some other stuff, and it's like, can I just get down to the coding and all that sort of stuff?
Maybe a little bit, but more so in the first year. I think QUT is honestly quite good, in this degree at least, at, just letting us do stuff, and we're learning a lot of modern things, and there has been some stuff that's a little bit, why am I learning this? But most of it is they kind of more teaching you how to approach software development and stuff like that. So, they're not going to make you a pro at any specific tool, but they're going to teach you a little bit about a bunch of them and kind of get you used to picking up new tools and putting them into practice and stuff like that.
So would you say you tend to use more screen magnification than speech output, or combination of both?
So for a long time, yes, I was using magnification, and that did really well for me with programming and stuff, and for maths in school. But I started using a bit more speech with the magnification, and now I am kind of all on the speech side. And messing around with a bit of Braille. I'm really, really excited about seeing what we can build for Braille. And yeah, so that's where I'm at.
I think you mentioned voiceover. So does that mean you use a Mac or you use a Windows machine?
I do use a Mac. I have access to a Windows machine. If there's a good reason for me to switch, I will. But mostly Mac.
You've made David very happy. He is a Mac fan.
Yeah, you're a voiceover fan, David.
I am, because this is one of the problems we've got at the moment, because the new computer that Rachel and I keep going on about is the Braille Note Evolve, which is a Windows 11 Pro laptop with basically a Braille display built into it. And the problem is it's Windows. So
yeah,
every time I do a big presentation or something, I just say, look, the people that know me know I'm an Apple fan. And I hate myself because if I don't be careful, I'm going to get locked out of the Apple pyramid one day, because the Windows Braille stuff works extremely well. It's the first time I've actually ever enjoyed Windows. But as a complete Apple fan for the last 20 years, it's just getting more and more difficult So sometimes I have what I don't know what to call them. They're not respite days, but they're sort of healing days where I go back to my Mac and spend time with my Mac just to settle my conscience down a bit. So yeah. So is the reason for the Mac because you're doing Xcode and that sort of stuff?
No, not really. I suppose when I was a bit younger, in my first school, we used iPads, and the next school I went to, we were on laptops, and it was just a very natural transition from the iPad to the Mac, especially with the screen magnification. Like on the Mac, the screen magnification seems to be really good. Like I just, you just scroll with two fingers and it just smooths it. It just zooms in nice and smooth, and yeah, I've always really liked that.
Have you played with any other type of like technology? So you've got VoiceOver, you've got the Mac. You said you dabbled in a bit of Braille. Was there anything else you've had a bit of a play with in sort of the blindness, low vision field?
Yes, a little bit. I got to preface by saying I'm not an expert in any of it. Like I haven't spent considerable amount of time with almost any of this stuff except for the screen magnifiers, and I've started to spend more time with VoiceOver. But I have used the magnifier Zoom Text and the magnifier on Windows, and I've used I'm starting to learn a bit about NVDA and Narrator, and they all seem like they have their different uses, and yeah.
So you did mention Braille. So what sort of Braille investigations have you done at the moment?
Well, I learned Braille young in primary school. I've never been fluent. I've never been particularly fast at reading Braille, but I was interested in it because of coding. The Braille just seems makes a bit more sense when it comes to reading symbols and the code itself. And I've been playing around with showing like a little mini map in Braille of the code, so I can feel like 4 lines of code at once on the Braille display, but each dot is one character. So I'm not feeling the words and the content, I'm feeling the structure of the code and the white space, and that's been really interesting.
So tell us, Sam, a little bit. This leads very well into kind of Braille. We do a lot of that at Humanware. In fact, this podcast is being recorded on the Braille Note Evolve. I told you guys I would do it, and cool. it is happening. But Sam, tell us a little bit about kind of what you won from the bursary, as I know that's kind of Braille centric, and if you've been able to incorporate that into your coding studies.
I know there was a few things listed, and I know that I'm getting a Brailliant BI40, which I'm so excited about. Woohoo. I'm really keen for that. I haven't got it yet, so I haven't been able to incorporate it into the studies yet, but I'm very keen to.
So with the BI40, now are you going to be doing coding for Mac and Windows, or are you going to be doing coding for sort of iOS-y type things?
The degree, I believe, will be building more desktop apps. But I have hobby projects too. I want to build some cool Braille apps, and I want them to go out everywhere. So yeah, I mean, getting them on the iPhone would be awesome.
Does that mean if you were developing for Windows, does that mean you'd have to use something like Visual Basic or some other visual coding system on Windows to produce Windows desktop apps?
I believe there are other ways. So I have a hobby project now that runs on Windows, and that's using it's a systems programming language, and it kind of will just run everywhere. So I'm not really gotten into Visual Basic.
Let's talk about your hobby, because that sounds really fascinating to me. So what's the one that you have been on your website and it looks really interesting?
Oh, yeah. So that's TouchTerm. It's kind of where I do all of my programming. Like I built TouchTerm version 2 in TouchTerm version 1, and it's an application that's built from the ground up for Braille and audio.
Okay.
So I've had problems with apps in the past, like when I'm learning VoiceOver. I do the VoiceOver tutorial and I learn the basics, and then I go to learn how to use the Mail app, and it takes me hours to figure out the layout and like figure out how to use the Mail app. So my goal is to make a foundation where you can easily just whip up apps for that are native to, how blind people want to interact. So the first application I built in there is a tool that gives you access to the terminal. And then there's also some AI stuff in there too, so you can manage your AI sessions and talk to the AI and stuff.
So in terminal mode, Sam, what is it actually? What are you happening to achieve for the user in terminal mode?
One of the main things is when you interact with a normal terminal, you just get a grid of cells and grid of text cells. So when you run a command, it prints its output, and it's very hard to, very quickly just go up to the top of the output and read it.
Right.
So my program breaks down the terminal, and it actually organizes it into navigable chunks. That you can run your command and just navigate directly to the output, and you get a history of output. So it makes the navigation a lot simpler.
Is it easy to copy text into and out of this terminal program?
Recently, I have added some copy and paste stuff. It's important to note that I'm at the moment building this stuff for me, and I haven't really made it that user friendly yet. So I'm keen to add a lot more features. But yes, you can basically copy all the text and you can paste into the terminal. So yeah, but you currently can't really select and highlight. So I'd really like some advice. Get some people using the app to tell me what needs to happen first.
So this is kind of, going a little bit into the weeds, but do you have a project on GitHub for it, where you can kind of put out betas where people can kind of download your terminal program and provide feedback?
I haven't. It's not public on GitHub at the moment, so I'll. I think that's an important part to get people working on it. It's got to be accessible that way. But you can currently go and download it off the website, touchterm.dev. You can go download it and play around with it. It's by no means like a mature application, but it's cool. It works for me, and if it works for someone else, that'd be cool too.
We will absolutely put that website in the show notes, and we'll get you some feedback.
Cool, that'd be great.
One question I had is, you mentioned AI, and the programs that you built can help, kind of keep track of your AI sessions. What are your thoughts on, and this could be a whole episode in itself, and we're kind of in an era now where people, will just kind of say blind people for this context, but people in general are building applications for themselves and for others to use, which is great. If there hasn't been one that's existed previously, it's like, hey, I can build it now. Which leads me to my question for you. What are your thoughts, or have you used AI in coding, like Claude Code or things like that?
It's obviously a really big topic, but my general thoughts are that when it comes to coding, or at least the kind of coding I do, if you expect the AI to think for you, everything will go belly up, and you'll actually cause yourself more work down the line. So it really helps streamline the repetitive tasks, and it can write code, of course. It's pretty good at it. Yeah. But when it comes to actually deciding how your software is going to function and how you're going to the architecture of your program, it's not necessarily the best at that. You've got to think for yourself.
I love that. I read in a magazine recently, the term vibe coding. That's kind of been very popular, but someone else said it really well. They said verification coding, where yes, the AI can help you, but you need to kind of understand what it's doing and then verify that your code and your software functions. So yes, think for yourself, but verification coding. So that's, I think, what I'm going to call it from now on.
It's a great tool, and I think especially when it comes to accessibility, it's just super good. I mean, throughout school, I got all of my information from support teachers, and they didn't necessarily know about the content, but they were really good communicators, and they were able to, be that intermediate step. And, I think AI is pretty good at that in a similar way.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you get information, you can go, can I just verify this? And sometimes it comes back and go, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I was wrong. It's like, yeah, I knew you were wrong, but anyway. So with the coding stuff, so how do you find coding and having to focus on different parts of the screen, and when you've got compile errors and all that sort of stuff. So how do you find, as a sort of a vision impaired type person, how do you find that whole coding process from a user's point of view, actually doing the coding?
Well, I find the terminal's great. All my tools are in the terminal for the most part, and that makes it very easy to have a good loop, like development loop on running code. It can be hard with Braille and speech because a lot of code is structure and formatting, so it can be kind of hard to get that stuff right.
Yeah, that's true. So does that mean you don't actually use Xcode then on the Mac? You're more using a coding app or something like that actually in terminal itself?
Yeah. I use a terminal editor. Terminal editors are all based on the original stuff that was around decades and decades ago. They're just it's not changed a whole lot.
Steady on, Mr. Samuel. I was around decades and decades ago. The first system I used to log into was called the Apana Unix network. And it was cool because you logged into this system and you ended up, whatever the prompt was, I can't remember if it was a dollar prompt or a number sign prompt, but then all the cool things you could run from the system was just amazing, like playing the email program, and somebody built like an old-fashioned bulletin board system for, messaging and all that sort of cool stuff. So, yeah, it's sort of in one way or the other, like Unix type, because that's what the Mac's based on anyway. Mm-hmm. The Unix type stuff's been around for a long time. So, I know I keep asking about the Mac because, I feel like there's an excuse to keep.
He found a kindred spirit. He's excited.
I have found a kindred spirit.
I like this one.
Bug of the Evolve.
It's recording your podcast right now. Be nice to it.
That's true. Oh, hang on. I'll just.
There you go.
There you go. Just settle it down a bit. So do you think? So all the stuff you're doing in tournament, I'm assuming those skills and the routines and the program coding, everything else using, that's going to be fairly. Like if you wanted to put that stuff into Xcode or use your skills into Xcode and then build iOS apps and Mac apps and that sort of stuff, that should be easily transferable, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought I would likely use Xcode through its command line tool. I don't know if I would be opening it in the full graphical app, but then again, I have found that some of these native Mac apps actually they just work very well with voiceovers. So maybe there's actually a lot to gain from checking out Xcode with voiceover. But yeah, a lot of should transfer into it. There'd still be stuff to learn though. There'd be a learning curve.
So what year are you in at the moment in your degree? I
basically have a year left of my degree. It's a 3-year degree, and I've got about eight courses left. And
what's your hope to? I mean, do you want to run your own business? Do you want to get into sort of like any particular sort of software development type organisation? Where do you think you might end up after finishing uni? I really, really hope that I can build assistive tech and assistive software. Throughout a lot of school, I've been interested in learning topics like maths, and I didn't really feel like I could integrate into that class environment well. The best accessibility, I still felt you still get a bit isolated from your peers. You can't really perform equally, but I don't think that really needs to be the case. And I really want to build some software that just lets somebody excel in education, and then that stuff carries through to career and yeah.
Sam, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation.
11 علم الإمارات العربية المتحدة. قلب أحمر. علم تشاد. قلب أحمر. يدان على شكل قلب. سجل إعجابه بمنشور. مرفق.
Really excited that you are kind of starting out, and we will have to follow up with you to see where you are at with your bursary, with the Braille, with your building things, because that's what's kind of fun now is we can kind of engineer the tools that we need for ourselves and for others. So thank you so much for coming on and for talking to us. I know David's had a ton of fun finding another Mac user out there in the world.
It's been good.
He feels at home.
I do. I feel much better now. I'm at my happy place.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Spotlight segment. This month, we want to shine a bit of a spotlight on organizations that have been around for quite a while and that are focusing on efforts like advocacy and employment and training for blind individuals. And some of these organizations, we'll start with the ones in the US, and then David can mention the ones in Australia. So organizations like the National Federation of the Blind and the American Council of the Blind are our two organizations that have been around and do great work. And then we will get into some promotions that are going on with the Monarch and the National Federation of the Blind. But before we do that and chat a little more about the organizations, David, which ones do you have in Australia? Because I think you have quite a few.
So we've got a bit of a different setup here in Australia. So our main blindness, low vision organisations are the ones that do, I guess, most of the advocacy, or at least the ones that people hear about. But our main sort of blindness, low vision, disability related charity organisation would be Blind Citizens Australia. So that's the main one. But then very heavily, huge institutions, organisations like Vision Australia. I want to say Guide Dogs Australia, but it won't be correct because Guide Dogs Australia is actually separate to each guide dog association in Australia. So, but let's just clump them under, guide dogs actually in Australia, all the different centres. And then we have other major players like Visibility, See Differently, which is the Royal Society for the Blind. But mainly it's the Vision Australia's, Guide Dogs, and then of course the BCA, and they're all advocating every single day. And as we all know around the world, the main issue at the moment just seems to be, around transport, education, and just awareness in general. So that's what we're doing here in Australia, but I'm pretty sure it's probably very similar to the rest of the world.
Some of the things, in addition to, as you mentioned, David, training and awareness and advocacy in general, is these organizations also do a lot with technology, and they're both very Braille-based and Braille-centric, and we are too at HumanWare, so we're spotlighting these organizations, especially when it comes to Monarch. Now, speaking of the Monarch, we have a very special promotion that's going on from now until the end of the year.
At HumanWare, we believe everyone should have access to the tools they need to succeed at school, at work, and in everyday life. That's why we're pleased to offer National Federation of the Blind members the opportunity to purchase the Monarch for a promotional price of $12,900. This is a thank you from the American Printing House for the Blind and HumanWare for NFB's invaluable contribution to Monarch, and to the members who provided the crucial feedback that guided development. This offer is available to anyone who identifies as an NFB member. This special pricing is available whether you purchase your Monarch directly through HumanWare, through an authorized HumanWare dealer, or through APH. This offer cannot be combined with any other promotion, discount, or special pricing. Available to U.S. citizens only. Offer valid through December 31st, 2026.
وسم لقاء شرطة سفلية مثير شرطة سفلية وساخن ميزة التشغيل التلقائي متوقفة زر أنقر مرتين لتبديل الإعداد.
It is very, very simple to do, and then you can take advantage of the special Monarch pricing. We are so excited to be able to offer that, and we hope that you are excited as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at HumanWare or APH, and any one of us will be happy to assist you. I've had a little bit experience with NFB and, of course, ACB, attending their conventions and attending various meetings, and I think the emphasis that both organizations put on technology is really great. As we know, technology is a gateway between blind folks and the world, and so given that I've been able to experience that, and I know at least NFB has a very large tech lab, and ACB has a lot of different programs that they're having, and they want to help people. They have an affiliate that does a lot of wonderful technical presentations, and they're called Blind Information Technology Solutions. So if you're in the US and you want to check them out, you should definitely do that, and you will learn so much. They have any presentation from getting started with a Mac to Linux to Python. It's very, very well run. So speaking of that, David, what's been your experience with some of the organizations that you mentioned?
I'm amazed that these people that advocate and organisations can keep going on and actually be so positive, because sometimes, as we know, sometimes advocating, you feel like you take 4 steps forward and maybe 1 or 2 steps back. And I just think it speaks greatly to the resilience of organisations that can just keep pushing the policies of, rideshare services, not knocking back guide dogs, better services at airports for people to get around. The long-lived dream about keep pushing for accessible kiosks, whether it's in public buildings or at, airports or train stations and that sort of stuff. So it's just amazing that, people keep going. And I think it's the same with accessibility. I mean, I've been doing this job now for, almost 40 years now, and I'm still saying exactly the same thing in some ways, different technology, but saying the same ways for accessibility. And I always used to liken it to, you write your message on the sand, the tide comes in, it wipes the message out, tide goes out, you rewrite your message, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. You don't lose hope, and you hope by
وسم لقاء شرطة سفلية مثير شرطة
ways that it'll eventually start to change. And
مشغل الفيديو زر إخفاء عناصر التحكم في المشغل.
We have now here, particularly on the Central Coast between Sydney and Newcastle, where everything's braille labelled. It's absolutely amazing, that their help points for getting help on the carriage, the braille information about other items to do with the carriage, the number of the carriage, all sorts of stuff. And that wouldn't have come about due to lots and lots and lots of advocacy. So I always like to say to people, look, just because things don't change overnight or weeks, months or years, and if everybody knows that you've just keep plugging away at it, and things will change gradually. Some things might slide a bit backwards, but overall, we've just got to keep pushing forward every day and don't give up. And that's why I absolutely respect places like ACB, NFB, and all the different places in Australia, because yes, we just have to keep retelling the stories in different ways and think in new ways to get get the ideas across, because otherwise you just can't sit back and say, well, look, it's somebody else's issue, somebody else's problem, somebody else will fix it. I mean, I think particularly in the blindness and low vision community, in some ways we're the best advocates for ourselves, but then if you don't have organised people on our behalf doing advocacy, that can also fall down as well.
We want to just take a moment to thank all of the organizations, like you mentioned, NFB, ACB, Vision Australia, Blind Citizens Australia, Guide Dogs. Every day they're making a difference. And I also like what you mentioned is that advocacy is all of our responsibility. And I think if we can kind of push together and have this collective movement, we're going to be able to see some change. You mentioned your train systems are so much more accessible. Because of NFB's efforts, we have, I believe, audible pedestrian signals, and we have electric cars making an audible noise so they don't sneak up on us. We are all benefiting. And we just wanted to take a little bit of time to say thank you and to say that we appreciate your work, and together we're just going to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you want your voice to be heard, then it's really good if you do join organisations like, in the US, ACB, NFB, Blind Citizens Australia. So if you feel like, well,
وسم لقاء شرطة سفلية مثير شرطة سفلية وساخن. وسم دكتور شرطة سفلية عزام شرطة موضع المسار الصوتي 33 دقيقة 44 ثانية من 52 دقيقة 55 ثانية تعديل واحد
CAPI 20 Building for Braille A Bursary Winners Journey and NVDA Turns
20 معجبان 16 ملء الشاشة زر
involved in different chapters of NFB in the US and so on. I think it's always a healthy, great thing for
ملء الشاشة زر
well-being and peace of mind as well. So, yep, congratulations to all the people that just keep plugging away every single day. Hi everyone, and Welcome to a bit of a chit-chat from across the pond here in Australia, where I am. And I have the unique pleasure once again to have Quentin on from NV Access, which is, of course, the company that distributes, makes, supports everything else NVDA, which, of course, stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. And Quentin is their main support / trainer / something else that I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But he's the main person that if you have any sort of training issues or things may or may not work,
وسم لقاء شرطة سفلية مثير شرطة سفلية وساخن. وسم دكتور شرطة سفلية عزام شرطة سفلية يطرح وسم أسئلة شرطة سفلية حادة ومباشرة ومحمد لطفي يجيب بكل صراحة وجرأة 12 دقيقة و4 ثواني للانتقال إلى قناة إسراء سودانية أفقي منفذ الشحن إلى اليسار
Cap S.
1
Cap E.
20
Building for Braille. A bursary winner's journey and NVDA turns.
20
Humanware Technologies.
زر
Access is the organization
المزيد من
behind it, the
الفيديوهات
organization that
زر
supports it.
Right.
So we've been around, well, actually, NVDA is celebrating its 20th year this year.
الوقت موضع المسار الصوتي 35 دقيقة 47 ثانية من 52 دقيقة الوقت المنقضي 35 دقيقة 54 ثانية من أصل موضع المسار الصوتي 35 دقيقة 59 ثانية من 52 دقيقة 55 ثانية تعديل أسحب للأعلى أو للأسفل بأسبوع واحد لتعديل القيمة.
There's not many assistive technology products on the market that can boast being around for such a long time. I mean, some software and hardware lasts for 5 or 6 years.
موضع المسار الصوتي 36 دقيقة 23 ثانية من 52 دقيقة 55 ثانية تعديل أسحب للأعلى أو للأسفل بأسبوع واحد لتعديل القيمة.
Yep. So to the user, obviously the first thing that the user would notice is that it is free and there's no cost for NVDA. The way that we do that is, and it goes back to those 20 years ago when it was first set up, the entire point was to make a screen reader that was free, that would be able to be distributed all around the world. So we work with companies like Google and Microsoft and Humanware and lots of others who in various ways help support what we do, particularly financially, which enables us to keep NVDA available for free to everybody. We also accept,
المزيد من الفيديوهات زر المزيد من الفيديوهات زر موضع المسار الصوتي 37 دقيقة 29 ثانية من 52 دقيقة 55 ثانية تعديل أسحب للأعلى أو للأسفل بأسبوع واحد لتعديل القيمة.
Which means that people around the world can contribute to it. So, for instance, with languages, NVDA has been translated into
موضع المسار الصوتي 37 دقيقة 52 ثانية من 52 دقيقة 55 ثانية تعديل أسحب للأعلى أو للأسفل بأسبوع واحد لتعديل القيمة.
So we also accept, you can contribute to the code. So if you're familiar with programming, you can read the code, which both enables you to verify our claims about what it does, and that it's secure, as well as add new features to it or fix bugs or, contribute to it in ways like that.
Okay. And is there somebody that sort of verifies? So if somebody says, oh, look, I've just come up with a really cool fix for something in the code or an enhancement or something like that, is there someone that sort of says, yes, we'll pass that particular code change on to the end user?
There is, and that is a really critical part of the way NVDA works. So we get nearly half of our submissions from the community, and what we spend a lot of our time doing is verifying those, checking those, making sure they work. And if you were to submit, a fix to a particular bug or a new feature to it, not only one, but at least
إخفاء عناصر التحكم في المشغل
would look over that and verify that it's all working correctly and everything's fine with it. So everything that goes into the version of NVDA that you can download from nvaccess.org has been checked over by at least a couple of staff members. So we make sure of that. We also do various things like, we run everything through Virus Total and do checks like that. There are other automated scans and checks that happen. So
yeah, I'm also glad you mentioned security, because every time it's almost this thing that somehow open source equals insecure or unsecure code. And I'm glad you said that. It is very secure. It's not like we just get some code, make some changes, and rush it out there or not. So that's really good. The other thing which is really good about NVDA, speaking of open source, is of course the very famous, and I love this, is the add-on library. Do you want to speak to what the add-on library is a bit?
Definitely. So there's an add-on store built into NVDA. If you tried NVDA, 10 years ago, there was a separate website you had to go to download add-ons. That's all built into NVDA now, so you can do it right from within the program. And add-ons are essentially, they're similar to extensions for browsers and other programs. They let you write a small program that bolts onto NVDA and gives it extra functionality. So one of the big ones, or a few of the big ones that we've got at the moment, are things that do
Fقي
AI
منفذ الشحن إلى اليسار
and things like
Cap
that
S.
using
واحد
ChatGPT and
Cappy.
the other models.
20
They're very
Building
popular.
for Braille. A bursary winner's journey
People
and
have
NVDA
written
turns.
those to
20
provide
Humanware
that
technologies.
functionality
زر
into NVDA directly.
Now, when we talk about open source, some people think that, again, the same issue applies to the add-on library, that, people might be just throwing together code to do an extension or an add-on from AI. But again, that, of course, really, I guess, is not the case, because, again, you've got people checking in, verifying. It's not just that it goes up there and gets released or not.
Add-ons don't get checked quite as much as the core code, but we still, do those automated checks and run it through Virus Total, and the community verifies it. There's also, you can review add-ons, much like you can, for review, you can review just about everything these days. But you can review add-ons, and NVDA also has a number of features for if you're concerned about security and want to ensure that everything's locked down as tight as it can be. Then you can choose not to use add-ons. You can run NVDA in secure mode. You can there's a number of things that you can do there.
One thing as a
This
trainer,
month,
Quinn,
hosts Rachel Ramos and David Woodbridge kick things off with a shout-out to loyal listener Svetlana, a longtime podcast fan, and two-time Braille reader of War and Peace before diving into a Humanware bursary winner spotlight. Joining the show is Samuel White, a bursary recipient from Brisbane, Australia, currently studying for a Bachelor of Information Technology at Queensland University of Technology. Samuel, this month, hosts Rachel Ramos and David Woodbridge kick things off. This month, hosts Rachel Ramos and David Woodbridge kick things off with a shout-out to loyal listener Svetlana, a longtime podcast fan, and two-time Braille reader of War and Peace before diving into a Humanware bursary winner spotlight. Joining the show is Samuel White, a bursary recipient from Brisbane, Australia, currently studying for a Bachelor of Information Technology at Queensland University of Technology. Samuel talks about his transition from screen magnification to speech and Braille, his hobby project, Touch Term, a terminal application built from the ground up for Braille and audio users, and his thoughts on AI-assisted coding, or, as he puts it, verification coding. Later in the episode, David catches up from Australia with Quentin Christensen of NV Access for a chat about NVDA, the free and open source screen reader celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Also in this episode, a spotlight segment honoring advocacy organizations including the National Federation of the Blind, NFB, the American Council of the Blind, ACB, Blind Citizens Australia, Vision Australia, and Guide Dogs Australia, plus details on Humanware.
Then you don't need to worry about it. And things like object navigation, for instance, can be really powerful. What it does in a nutshell is it lets you navigate between different elements on the screen, even things that you can't get to with the keyboard normally. So it gives you that access, but you don't have to use it. For the most part, you should be able to get to most things with your regular keyboard commands. And in fact, for instance, a good example is the training material that we've written for NVDA, as well as basic training for NVDA, which is our main module that teaches you all of the things up to things like object navigation. We've also written a suite of modules for Microsoft Office. And what I found when I wrote those was that 90% of it is not
see things differently with humanware.
This is how to get around Word with the keyboard.
Exactly.
And
yes.
NVDA just follows.
The other thing that I need to remind people about NVDA too is you can use it with the mouse, can't you? You just don't have to use it with the screen reader. With speech. If you're more of a sort of a low vision type person.
That's right. It will follow the mouse, and
16
I know
مشاهدة.
we've got quite a bit of feedback that
16
works really
مشاهدة.
well. And
16 مشاهدة.
you can use it with the mouse. You can also,
16
one of the
مشاهدة.
things that's coming in the
16
newest
مشاهدة.
version of NVDA 2026.2 is actually a magnifier.
See things differently with humanware.
For those low vision users who use
16 مشاهدة.
we've got that magnification now coming built into
معجبان.
NVDA.
Very cool. Is that just, I mean, of course, besides the normal, increased magnification and decreased magnification, is that going to have sort of what I tend to call sort of the main things to do with screen magnification, like, certain parts of the screen you can magnify, or you can do half a screen, a full screen, that sort of stuff?
For this first version, it's full screen. We are working on those other magnification modes, but it does have things like the ability to change colors, the ability to change how it follows, as well as you can quickly zoom in and out and see what's going on. So yeah, it does have quite a few features already, and there will be more, I expect, in the following releases of NVDA, just as whenever we've released a big feature like this, it often improves dramatically over the following releases.
How easy it is to set up the remote access to support NVDA out in the field? Because, I mean, other screen readers have got other support functions, including VoiceOver on the Mac, but how hard is it to set up the one for NVDA?
We've tried to make it relatively simple, so you can go into the settings for that and enable it. So for anyone who doesn't want it, just to take the other road, for anyone who doesn't want it, it is disabled by default. You can't just accidentally turn it on. You do need to deliberately go in and enable it, and then set up a connection with the specific, other computer, other person that you're connecting with. So my understanding is it's not really that much different conceptually to other ways of doing that.
And the other thing why I'm talking about the Evolve just quickly too is that the remote incident manager also works absolutely beautifully with NVDA. I mean, when you're on the remote computer, and this probably just goes for the same remote function if using it inside NVDA, works really well. I mean, you half the time, depending on your speed of your connection, you wouldn't even notice that you're actually using a remote session. What sort of help is built into NVDA?
So built into NVDA, it comes with the user guide on the help menu. One of the first sections in that user guide is the quick start guide. So that's one which, as it suggests, it basically runs you through using NVDA sort of on that day one, and a lot of the commands that you might want to know, how to get it to read, how to get it to stop reading, how to change a few of the common settings and things like that. As well as the user guide. So the rest of the user guide is more designed as I know what object navigation is, but I can't remember the command to move to the next object. And you can look that up in there. More so than to teach you what object navigation or any of the other features are. So
this month, hosts Rachel Ramos and David Wood. CapS.
واحد. كابي. ميزة التشغيل التلقائي المتوقفة. زر. أنقر مرتين لتبديل الإعداد.
goes through in a lot more detail all of the features and how to use them and gets you to practice them independently. And then there's also the Microsoft Office suite, the Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint for NVDA. And we've also got telephone support you can purchase as well.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
And together in a bundle.
Right. And no, that's excellent. And I'm assuming, as usual, it's not radically expensive at all, is it?
No, we've tried to make it as cheap as we can. So the basic training for NVDA, for instance, is and all of our electronic text modules are $35 if you're in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
32 if you're outside Australia, because we have to add the GST on.
Sure. Yeah. And what format do they come in, those training materials?
Basic training comes in, so that $35 version. The electronic text comes as a zip file with the book in Microsoft Word, as a web page, as an EPUB file, and in plain text.
Okay.
You can also, with basic training, you can also get that in hard copy UEB Braille and in human read MP3 audio.
Okay. So when you said hard copy Braille, can you get a BRI version of that as well, or not?
We haven't got a BRI version of that. No, it is just the hard copy paper version.
Yeah. And the other thing too to remind folks too is the keyboard help command. So if you think, oh look, I really don't want to try this command, of course you can go and do NVDA 1, and that brings up the keyboard help. Is there anything else you think we've missed about sort of the main features or the main things to think about if you want to have a, not just on the Evolve, but if you want to have a good play or play around with NVDA on your own Windows computer?
Let's see. I think you've covered a lot of the key things. Perhaps going back to we do have a very active user community, so do feel free to take advantage of that. We've got email groups, we've got active on the various social media. Mastodon we're quite active on, and Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter still for those who are there.
So is there an easy way to find out those emailing lists or on social media? I mean, is that sort of listed at all on the main NV Access page?
It is, yes. So everything is listed there on the main page, so nvaccess.org. And of course, if you can't find anything there, feel free to get in touch, which is just info@nvaccess.org.
So Quentin, thanks for coming on, and no doubt we'll catch up with you in the future. So happy NVDAing.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the upcoming shows segment. Join us in the following places. From September 11th through the 13th, we will be at the Montana Association for the Blind and joining them for their convention held in Great Falls, Montana. On September 17th, we will be at the Assistive Technology Project Expo in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you happen to be at either of those two places, come by and see us. If you have comments or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Please send them to podcast@humanware.com. That's podcast@humanware.com. Thanks so much for listening to See Things Differently. We'll see you next month.
ترجمة بدون تشغيل الفيديو التالي زر تشغيل الفيديو التالي زر تشغيل الفيديو المقترب تشغيل الفيديو تشغيل الوصف إغلاق زر إغلاق ميزة تشغيل التلقائي إعداد ميزة تشغيل التلقائي متوقفة زر ميزة تشغيل التلقائي متوقفة زر
Capas.
1
Capi.
موضع المسار الصوتي ميزة تشغيل ميزة تشغيل
Capas.
1
Capas. This month. Hosts Rach.
موضع المسار الصوتي إعدادات المشغل زر ميزة تشغيل التلقائي متوقف شاشة طاقة البطارية مركز التحكم تم الاختيار